In today's video, I would like to talk about another head tracking solution, and this is a really interesting one because it works system-wide. So it's not only usable for immersive audio production, it can also be used for gaming, for example. So if you are a gamer and want to create an immersive experience with surround sound, but you don't really want to shell out the amount of money that you need in order to set up an entire surround sound system, this is a way to go. So let's have a look at it. But first of all, hello everybody. In case you're new here, my name is Michael Wagner. I teach at the Antoinette Westphal College of Media Arts and Design at Drexel University in Philadelphia. And on this channel, I talk about digital media, game design, and spatial audio. And if any of those topics interest you, I invite you to subscribe or join my Discord community. Invite link is in the description below. And since you already added, also please don't forget to press the like button. It really helps out the channel and makes my videos more visible to other people. Thank you. And with that being said, let's get right into head tracking again. The head tracking solution I'm talking about comes from Redscape Audio, and I'm going to post a link to the webpage in the description below. It really is two pieces. The one is the software itself. The software is a standalone application that advertises itself as a 7.1 surround sound audio interface that you can address through whatever software you're using. And then there's a hardware head tracker that you can purchase, either the software alone or the software with the head tracker. Now, the software isn't particularly expensive. At the time I'm recording this, it was actually on sale. So the software itself is $20, so fairly inexpensive. And if you want to purchase the head tracker, it is essentially $50. And even if it's not on sale at the time you are watching this, $100 is still very reasonable. So this is actually a fairly inexpensive solution. It comes Windows only. So if you're on a Mac, unfortunately, you're out of luck. So essentially you need to be on Windows. Now let's have a look at the head tracker first. And the head tracker, the first time I got this was actually something that threw me off a little because this is a head tracker where the cable is actually permanently connected. And I have mixed feelings about that. Now I do understand to some extent that this makes this probably a little bit more reliable. Kind of if you have a head tracker that has a connector here, sometimes that will actually get loose or it wiggles itself out of the connection. But still, I'm not really a big fan of devices that have cables permanently connected to them. But it is what it is. So it's not really that expensive. So you can always purchase a second one, I guess. In addition to the head tracker, you actually get a couple of things in the package. And I think the way they meant to use this was really as something that you would permanently connect to your headphones. So you get like this little cable channel, which is nice. And then you have a couple of different hardware pieces that you can use in order to fix your headphone cable with the cable of the head tracker so that you essentially have only one thicker cable hanging off your headphones. So this is actually really, really nice because it allows you to kind of have that connected really permanently, and it's not really that much of a big, it doesn't really kind of add that much to your headphones. So let's have a look at the software. Now, once again, the software is a standalone software, Windows only, and as soon as you load that up and you connect your head tracker, the first thing that's going to happen is that the head tracker is going to calibrate. Now, unfortunately, it does that every time I restart the computer. So every time I'm kind of shutting down Windows and kind of starting it up again, connecting again, it wants to recalibrate. This isn't that much of a big deal. It just takes a couple of seconds. However, I have to be perfectly honest, it's just long enough to be annoying. So I think it's about 10 seconds. So just be aware of that you might need to recalibrate the head tracker once in a while. And the other thing that I have to say is that the software, as nice as it is in terms of features, it feels a little bit unfinished. So one problem that I ran into, for example, is that if I click on the dummy head here, I should actually get an image of a dummy head that shows me the direction I'm looking at. So it essentially shows me the position of the head tracker. I tried a couple of different things on my computer. I just get a black screen, so it doesn't really work. Not a big deal because you don't really need that information, but still, it would be nice if the things that it's actually supposed to do would actually work. So that's just kind of a couple of those little annoyances. The other thing that is a little bit annoying on my system in particular is that the scaling is off. So if I'm opening up the settings window, I'm getting this very small settings menu, which once again is not that big of a deal, but still it's one of those little annoyances. So the software works, the functionality is okay. However, it still feels a little bit unfinished. Now let's have a look at the settings. There are a couple of things that we need to do. Well, we need to first of all select what what the output device is. In my particular case, I'm going to output it into the audio interface that I'm using to record these videos. And then you essentially can select whether you want to go with an ASIO input or essentially a Windows input. Now I'm going to use it in connection with Cubase today, so I'm going to select ASIO here. And then we also need to make a couple of adjustments to the head tracker depending on how we actually connect it. So in the head tracker settings, we particularly need to select whether or not the cable is on the left or if it is on the right. So in my case, I'm going to put it on to the left, and that's it. There are also a couple of options. I'm not going to go through them. Most of them are fairly self-explanatory. Sometimes you need to swap surround speakers, for example. It allows you to do that. In addition to that, it also has the ability to add an EQ, and that's actually really nice. So if you click on the EQ window here, you get essentially an EQ that you can use in order to fine-tune your audio experience. So if that's something you want to do. We're not going to do that here because we're going to use it for music production, so I'm not going to kind of bother with that. Now, so let's, with that being said, let's essentially get Cubase going and let's get some audio going and let's see if that actually works as expected. So the first thing I need to do is I need to connect the head tracker to my headphones. Now, the rubber band that is provided is a little tight for my headphones. I have to be perfectly honest. It works, but not sure it might actually snap if I used it constantly. But kind of it is what it is. So let's get started. And I'm going to kind of use Cubase today. And once again, we are on Windows because this software once again is only Windows capable. The use in a digital audio workstation such as Cubase is actually fairly straightforward because once again, all we really have is we now have a surround sound audio interface that we need to address. So you can simply use this software as if it would be a regular hardware audio interface. In Cubase, what we need to do is we need to go into the studio setups and we need to just select the ASIO driver to be the Redscape driver. That's the one thing we need to do. And then we need to create an output bus that fits that driver. So let's go back into the studio settings under audio connections and let's just add a bus. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a 7.1 bus, and it's going to immediately recognize that I actually have that Redscape, and it's going to kind of set up everything correctly. Now, as always, I'm going to keep things as simple as possible. So what I'm going to do here is I'm simply going to drop a drum loop into my empty Cubase project, and I'm going to use the same drum loop that I actually used a couple of times, in particular last week. So let's go into Cubase again, and let's add a drum loop, and let's drop that in here. And in order to be able to hear it, because we now have a different output channel, so let's just kind of route that into our Redscape 7.1 output bus. So let's open up the channel settings and let's route that to our 7.1 out. And as soon as I do that, I should already hear my drum loop. Now I probably need to center the kind of the head tracking. So let's do that. Okay, so here we are. And this actually works very well. So essentially kind of I have the impression that the drums are right in front of me, and I'm actually getting a surprisingly good room impression. So this really sounds like there's somebody sitting in front of me playing drums, which is quite interesting. Now you can change the room ambience by kind of telling how much of the ambience you actually want. So this is essentially with full ambience, kind of completely off. Let's put that back to where it was. And obviously, I can kind of move the track around. So, for example, I can move that here to the left, which essentially is now here on the left channel. So you actually hear that like I'm hearing that on the left channel. So if I'm turning my head, you will essentially hear that as a panning. And that's actually fairly impressive. I have to be perfectly honest. So that is a very, very good impression that this thing is giving. So as you see, fairly straightforward, really not much to do, and actually an excellent solution, in particular if you're, for example, kind of a gamer and want to add that to a gaming setup. Now, what is my final verdict? Now, the thing that I miss a little bit is the fact that it doesn't really provide any head information. So essentially this is a 7.1 head tracking solution, and unfortunately the head tracker is not really working with any other software, so we actually kind of can only use it in then combination, and the software itself is only capable of reproducing 7.1 sound, so you cannot do 7.1.4, you cannot really do fully 3D or fully immersive audio, you can only do regular surround audio. It does that really well. It is not particularly expensive, but the head information is really missing, so it's not really usable for anything that kind of requires a little bit more than just 7.1 surround. Now the other things that I already mentioned are, I'm still kind of not completely sure if I like the fact that this is a cable is permanently connected. There's something that I feel is wrong there, and then the software isn't really, it doesn't really feel completely done. It's not expensive, so you kind of, I think it's okay. If it would be a lot more expensive, then I would be a lot more concerned about that. So if you're only paying, like currently, for example, in the sale, if you're paying only $20 for it, it's certainly worth $20. There's no question about that. But it just feels a little bit incomplete. Anyway, this is everything I wanted to say today. Thanks again for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please use the comment section below. And other than that, see you at the next video.